welcome to a educational video on Glacier Finance. If you don't know, Glacier is a DEX built on Avalanche, a decentralized exchange, and I am the founder, Lame Hillbilly or Austin. I really like to make educational content so that people feel comfortable in the ecosystem and kind of know the best way and the best path forward with as much education as I can give you. So this one is specifically based on voting. So if you're uncomfortable with voting or kind of want to understand the mechanics behind it, I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to talk about getting into a voting position, which is called a V Glacier position. I'm going to talk about the risk involved in that VNFT position, how to calculate the returns of an NFT, the voting mechanics, and then the epochs or 1 week, swap fees and bribes. And then why do we like protocols doing it, and why do protocols enjoy doing it, and why is voting important for the protocol, right? So we're going to go over all of those things, and I'm going to try and do it really fast. So I'm going to try and do it in 5 minutes, and so that you guys can kind of get all the information you need, and then we can go, you can go and make your best decision in the platform after that. So without further ado, let's go ahead. And I have about 2.85 AVAX. I am on the Glacier.exchange website. I'm going to buy some Glacier with my AVAX right now. So I'll do it here. I'll type in Glacier. We're going to go ahead and use 75% of my position, which is about 2 AVAX, because I need a little bit left for gas. Let's go ahead and swap and let my Rabbi wallet. There it is. I'm going to wait for that to do it. But while I do it, I'm going to show you basically how VNFTs work. So you're going to take this Glacier and you're going to convert it with a contract, right? The front end's going to do it all for you, but in the back end, what you're essentially doing is giving your Glacier away to a contract and stating, I'm okay to give out this much Glacier for this long period of time for access to a V Glacier position. And it's just like an NFT. So if you're very new to DeFi, you may have heard like Bored Apes or other NFTs, except these have actual utility. So now, right now, since my swap just became successful, you can now see I have 772 Glacier. I am going to go ahead and go to the lock page on Glacier.exchange. I'll go ahead and create a lock, and I'm going to use, well, I'll have to refresh here. The API does take some time sometimes. So once you refresh, you're going to see I have the 772 Glacier. I'm going to go ahead and create a new lock here. And now it's going to ask me how long. So you're going to tell the contract, I'm comfortable giving my Glacier out for this long, right? So you can actually see the amount of V Glacier that I'm going to return. And you're saying, well, I'm given 772, but I'm only receiving 394. And the reason that is because the longer you lock, the better it is for the protocol, right? So the protocol rewards longer lock periods. So if you go to 4 weeks, you're going to see the actual 2 week is, there it is. So the 2 week is about 120, right? And we have 772. You go to 4 weeks, it's going to be even more, 8 weeks. And then our max lock being 12 weeks, you can see that it actually is bugged here, but it should be 772. So you'll get a 1-to-1 ratio when converting your Glacier into V Glacier if you max lock for that 12 weeks. Okay, so you have to consider that, because the more V Glacier you have, the more stake you have in what DeFi calls governance, right? This is our governance token, and the more you have, the better for your returns. And we'll tell you about how you kind of do that once we actually lock it. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it. So right now I have to allow the contract to take that Glacier from me. So I'll go ahead and sign it. It's going to be tough to get this in 5 minutes. I'm already at 3 minutes. I'm a long talker. So maybe a little bit longer, but give me some credit here. I like educating, so it's going to be a longer video, and hopefully it helps. So we're going to take a little bit minute here to vest my tokens. Once this gets accepted, it's gonna come up with another contract approval, and it's going to be talking about vesting my tokens. This means I've now allowed the contract to take my Glacier, and now I'm saying go ahead and take my Glacier. That's 2 contract interactions you have to go through. You can see I'm going to be vested till 0702. So if you're not in the American time, that's going to be in 3 months from now, essentially. So that is July that I'll have this position, right? And the thing is, before we talk about it, you're going to see this expires in 3 months, and the actual vest expires 0628. So what you need to know is that I'm going to continue losing this, right? You can even see it on the front end already. So I have a 772 V Glacier position, but next week it'll be worth 735. And it'll continue doing that week over week until I go into manage and boost this back up the following epoch, right? So I need to increase the duration, which increases and lengthens my lock period, right? So if I was locked out until July, then it may now be locked for another month or whatever it is. It'll tell you here on the contract side. But now you have it, right? Now you have this token number 376, and you're thinking, well, now what do? You've locked your Glacier, you've performed what you need it to. So it's important to understand what exactly you're voting for. There is an X amount of Glacier given out every week, and you can see every week is considered every Wednesday or Thursday, 12 a.m. UTC. That's the start until the next Thursday, 12 a.m. UTC. That is 1 week, and that is a epoch, right? They just call it fancy stuff in DeFi, but it is essentially just a week, right? 7 days. We're already halfway through this epoch. So it's important to know that, because that is what this voting is actually going to determine. You can actually see votes being cast here and how much of the total votes is equated to each LP pool, right? You are pretty much designating Glacier to these pools. So 14% of all of that X amount of Glacier that is going out next week will actually be pointed towards this BTCB AVAX pool. And similar to this one got 12%, and it's gonna get that much Glacier the following week as well. So you're voting this week for what happens next week, right? It's important that you understand that, because this is where bribes and fees come in. You could actually already see the bribes and fees here in this pocket here. You're going to see what kind of bribes and fees it is. So this has 100,000 Glacier, 132 USDT, and 14 AVAX. So all of the swap fees that come out of the AVAX USDT, which would be represented in AVAX and USDT, are going to this pool, right? We don't take any revenue from this platform. We give it all back to the users. So every single swap fee that goes into the platform goes back to you all in the form of these bribes and fees that run on an epoch. So we have 3 days to choose our vote. Now, it's always best to vote early, but protocols will essentially bribe or add money to these so that it's displayed here. And I can show you a good example here at the YFX GMD USDC. That is a protocol YFX. The protocol owner has liquidity hosted here. He wants more Glacier emissions. So he has put 2,000 USDC on this pool, right? And so because of him doing that, people are going to be inclined to vote for that pool. And when they do that, the good news is that it boosts the amount of that Glacier the following week will go to it. And if people see that they can farm the secondary part of these dexes, right, is farming their LP for Glacier emissions, then that is going to result in usually higher amounts of LP formed, which is what they want: deeper liquidity, easier trades. So that is essentially the kind of flywheel effect that we're taking place. But let's go back. We now have a vote to cast, and we need to cast it, right? So we can easily determine kind of what our vote's going to do comparatively. Now, realize that this position was like, I think, about $40, right? So we put about $40 in, and we're going to determine what we're going to get. So you could actually look at the voting APRs, and there's going to be some that are really dramatically up. But realize all of this is going to come down to over 7 days, right? So as long as you get this vote in, you'll earn the fees and bribes as soon as this 3 days is over, the next epoch, Thursday, 12 a.m. UTC. So this one only has about $5 right now. And we have some with Mem and Grape, but we'll go to bribes and fees and look up one that has a bit of a different, that has a higher amount of Glacier that we can bribe for. So let's say we're going to vote on this WETH USDT pool, and you're wondering, well, how much am I going to get on my return in these 7 days? Technically only 3 now, but say you started on a new epoch. All right, so let's, I'm going to show you how to calculate this. We have 735 as displayed. I think it's actually, hold on, it's actually 772. We have 772 V Glacier. We are going to divide that, right, by the total amount of votes cast. And you can see the total amount here. 2134756. Okay, it's going to give me some scientific number, you can see. But all you have to do is now take this and multiply it by the USD value of bribes and fees. So multiply 507 or 5057, which is the bribes and fees total amount. So me as a user will earn $1.82 on this position in one week, right? In 7 days with a $40 position. That's huge in my opinion. And that is just 1 week. You can also do things like look for lower votes, right? Lower amounts of votes, and look at where the bribes and fees are, and maybe you can snipe some. So right now, this only has 5,000 votes. So it could be potentially better for you to vote on something like the X Walrus pool, or I'm sorry, the Walrus pool or the W share pool, if there's more fees involved, right? I went for the higher core pool pairs that usually result in more fees. But there's thousands of different ways, and all you have to do is calculate it. So let's look at the wine mem pair here. There's a pretty high voting APR. There's $122. So let's see what our vote would equate to. So again, we're going to take that 772. We're going to divide it by 22,082. It's going to result in about 3% of the total vote. So then we're going to multiply it by the 122.46. $4.02 or $4.20. I'm sorry. So you can actually see that if no one else votes for this pool, that you'll actually gain more from it, right, than if you went for a core pool. So why don't we do that? Why don't we just cast our vote here? We'll get $4.20, one of the better returns, and take that money. That's a 10% return in 7 days. That's fantastic. And so you can actually do that a lot and gamify this. And oftentimes what you'll find is as a user, you'll earn more doing this, right, than you will doing LP farming, which is subject to impermanent loss. And your V position is kind of static. It doesn't really move. Now, of course, the token price of Glacier moves, but V Glacier holds its same amount of weight. There's always an X amount of V Glacier in the ecosystem. So you either increase the duration or increase the size of it. But one V Glacier is one V Glacier, right? As long as you stay on top of, and even if it goes down in price, if you buy more then, you're still getting a higher impact vote, right? Because you're getting more V Glacier for cheaper. So then you get more money. So this is why voting is so impactful. This is why protocols bribe and give you free money because they want emissions to their LP. They incentivize their LP with our Glacier token. So this is the ecosystem that is abroad here. So definitely start gamifying. I'm gonna go ahead and cast the vote. And I'm gonna show you just how it looks. Just real quick. This video did go this video did go a little bit longer than I anticipated, but there's a lot of good information, so it's good that you all get it. How to calculate the return of the NFT we just did. Risk involved in a VNFT. What's the risk? The risk is you bought in at X dollar amount, however much you spent on per Glacier could go down, right? The market participants could sell Glacier under your capital. And then you have a lower valued position when you were to get out of your 3-month contract, right? So you could lose money in that capacity, but that, that's not just a single asset, you are earning on it. So some of that risk is mitigated each week. About the epoch, swap fees and bribes. I talked about why do protocols like doing it? Of course, they get higher emissions. Why isn't voting important to the protocol? So I'll finish it off here. So our vote's been cast, by the way. I'll finish it off here. That voting is so important for these protocols because it essentially takes these emissions, these high inflation tokens like Glacier that is being emitted and minted, which, obviously expands the sell pressure, and it gives a way to mitigate that sell pressure by giving you as a user a second way to earn. And so if we have many users impacting the voting process and constantly locking up more Glacier, then there's a floor that gets set on Glacier. The total amount of Glacier that can be sold at once drastically reduces, bottlenecking the supply. And so that's good for a multitude of reasons. We have this inflationary token, but there's 2 ways for you to earn. You can LP and earn, right? You can just farm like you do on other dexes, but you can also vote and earn. And so with those 2 dynamics, if we can get enough people to understand voting and to want to take this risk, it's extremely healthy for the protocol. It's good for you. It's good for us. It's good for the entire ecosystem, right? There's more bribes that come in because other protocols see the success of it. So they'll put in bigger bribes, which means more money for you. So really, just farming and dumping Glacier, of course, is an option, and you're more than welcome to do it. But the goal here with this video is to teach you that voting is also a very lucrative investment, right? I will make in 3 days, granted no one else votes for this pool, $4 of a $40 investment in 7 days. Technically for me, 3 days. So I don't know. I think that's a really awesome dynamic that gets played on these dexes, and I'm super excited to be able to bring it to you guys and hopefully help you understand the methodology behind it. So if you like the video, definitely share it around and try and teach people more about these methods, especially in our own protocol. But share it with other friends and family that want to get involved. Just please let them know the risk of getting inside a DeFi protocol like this. Maybe don't share it with your family yet. Maybe you should just take on that risk. But of course, share it amongst your friends, and of course, join the Discord and ask me, Lame Hillbilly, any questions you have. And I'll be pumping out a lot of educational content in the near future, right? So that you are fully confident with your positions in Glacier. I want to do another series where we talk about $100 in and kind of how to play it with LP, maybe some leverage in there, and also voting on top of that, so that you can get maximum yield out of these platforms, and it honestly benefits the platform for you to use it. So if you like the video, thank you. I hope you learned something and you can take away something. But have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.